Alright, so this one just looked like it might be a lot of fun. Now, I didn't know very much about it, but the few things I did know made it look fun. And that's definitely the sort of vibe this seems to be going for. It has some horror elements to it, but the general tone seems to be fun. In sort of a dark and kind of comedic way, but the problem is, at least for me, well, it wasn't really intense or scary enough for that aspect to fully work. And it wasn't really consistently funny either, so that aspect fell a bit short as well. However, it was pretty intense at times. There were some intense moments. It was also genuinely funny at times. It had some great moments in that regard too. But it didn't really fully commit to either thing and just ended up being a little bit bland. It felt like it just floated around somewhere in this vague middle ground, with I'd say most of the emphasis on this slightly more fun and comedic tone. So I definitely wouldn't call this a straight up horror movie. But what's the movie even about? Well, with a movie like this, the premise is very straightforward. It's simple, it's effective, and it's essentially about this young woman who marries into this very old and prestigious and wealthy family. And as a sort of initiation ritual, they always play a game. Which might seem a bit silly, and yes, it is a bit silly, but this isn't a very serious movie anyway. However, the game they end up playing is pretty serious, with some serious consequences. Now, I was initially worried about how they were gonna stretch a simple premise like this into a 90-minute movie. But the setup itself takes almost 30 minutes, and then you just have about an hour left. And I thought it worked fine, it didn't really feel like it was stretched too thin. Although ideally there could have been a few more layers to the whole thing. They could have made the overall story a little bit more complex. And I mean, there is some backstory, some lore about what they're doing and why they're doing it. But I feel like that's pretty much the bare minimum that's required from something like this. Because it does need some reason and logic, and this does provide that. However, I don't know, I just feel like they could have added a little bit more complexity to the actual plot itself. Or, you know, just a few surprises here and there, because this one really didn't bring many twists and turns. But for what it's worth, it does work, and as I said, it does have its moments too. However, the great stuff is fairly sparse, and overall I just found this to be mildly entertaining. I mean, I didn't mind it, it was perfectly watchable, and I could see some people enjoying it more than I did. But I definitely wouldn't call this particularly spectacular or anything. Even the whole idea of let's play a game that turns into something a lot more insidious has been done many times before, so I can't even call this all that original. That being said, I did really enjoy the ending. The ending delivered. That part was at least beautifully done, and I pretty much loved it. So at least it ended on a high note and left me feeling pretty good about the whole thing. And I did really like Samara Weaving in the leading role as the young bride too. I thought she did a pretty good job and sold me on the character as well. But that's about it. However, the question remains, would I recommend this one? Well, I wouldn't not recommend it. It's fine, as long as you sorta know what to expect. So, you know, maybe give it a look, or don't. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic. And if you'd like, you can also support me on Patreon or PayPal through the links in the description. And as always, I appreciate you and thanks for watching.